I never imagined my life would unravel under the glaring Kenyan sun, on the bustling streets of Nairobi, amidst honking matatus and street vendors. As I sit on the edge of the bed I once shared with my wife Nduta, my mind is in chaotic jumble of regret, fear and confusion. It all started with a seemingly innocent arrangement. Nduta's younger sister Wambui needed a place to stay while attending the University of Nairobi. Family helps family, Nduta had insisted. Her big brown eyes full of sincerity, I'd agreed, thinking nothing of it. After all, what harm could come from helping out my sister-in-law? Months passed and the boundaries between husband, wife and sister-in-law began to blur. Late-night study sessions turned into late-night conversations, and those conversations turned into something more. Wambui was vibrant, full of youthful energy and dreams that contrasted sharply with the cynicism Nduta and I had developed over years of marriage. It was wrong, but it felt right in the moment. Then, the day came when both women revealed they were pregnant. I was caught between a rock and a hard place. Nduta, my wife, and Wambui, her sister, both carried my child. The weight of my actions pressed down on me, but there was no time to process it all before the hammer fell. A month ago, a young man approached me in a busy Nairobi market. He had a camera and a charm that made it hard to say no. Loyalty test, he explained, offering a small fee for a few minutes of my time. In hindsight, I should have walked away, but curiosity got the better of me. Little did I know this encounter would dismantle the fragile life I had built. The YouTuber was relentless, armed with evidence that painted me as the worst kind of man. He exposed my infidelity to Nduta in a video that quickly went viral. The world seemed to pause when I saw the look on her face as she watched, but the shock didn't end there. The YouTuber had also uncovered secrets about Nduta. Her cousins were in fact wealthy older men, sugar daddies who financed her lavish lifestyle. In a single day, the carefully constructed facade of our marriage crumbled. Nduta, who I thought I knew inside out, was a stranger, living a double life as sordid as mine. The room we once shared felt like a prison cell, and the air between us was thick with unspoken accusations and shattered trust. Now I am left with the daunting task of facing Nduta and Wambui's parents. How do I explain this tangled web of deceit and betrayal? How do I confess that I am the father of both their daughters and born children? And most importantly, how do I reconcile the man I thought I was with the man I have become? The sun is setting outside, casting long shadows across the room. I know I can't delay this confrontation any longer. With a deep breath, I rise, feeling the weight of my decisions bearing down on me. I need to find a way to make amends, to carve a path through this mess I've created. But as I step out into the cooling Nairobi evening, I can't shake the feeling that this is just the beginning of my reckoning. The evening air is cool and carries the distinct scent of the Nairobi streets, dust mixed with the distant aroma of street food. As I walk towards the car, my phone buzzes incessantly with messages and calls from concerned friends and curious acquaintances who have seen the video. I ignore them all, my focus solely on the impending confrontation with Nduta and Wambui's parents. The drive to their house feels like an eternity. Memories of happier times flash through my mind, family gatherings, laughter, the warmth of shared meals. All of it feels tainted now, overshadowed by the enormity of my betrayal. When I arrive, the house is quiet, almost ominously so. I knock on the door, my heart pounding in my chest. Nduta opens it, her eyes red from crying. She steps aside, silently letting me in. The living room is filled with a heavy silence, broken only by the sound of the ticking clock on the wall. Nduta's parents sit on the couch, their faces stern and unyielding. Wambui sits beside them, her hands resting protectively on her growing belly. The sight of her, so young and vulnerable, fills me with a fresh wave of guilt. How did I let it come to this? Karibu, Nduta's father says, his voice cold. The unusual warmth in his eyes is gone, replaced by a steely resolve. I take a seat, my hands trembling. Sante, I manage to reply, my throat dry. Silence stretches between us, thick and suffocating. Finally, Nduta's mother speaks. What do you have to say for yourself? Her voice is calm, but the disappointment in her eyes cuts deep. I take a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. I am sorry, I begin, the words feeling woefully inadequate. I made a terrible mistake. I hurt both Nduta and Wambui, and I can't begin to express how sorry I am. Sorry isn't enough! Nduta's father interjects, his voice rising. You've shattered this family. You betrayed our trust, disrespected our home. I know, I say, my voice cracking. I know I can't undo what I've done, but I want to make it right. I want to take responsibility for my actions, for both Nduta and Wambui, and for our children. And how do you propose to do that? Wambui's mother asks, her eyes narrowing. I am willing to support both of them, to be there for them and our children. I say, struggling to keep my voice steady. I'll do whatever it takes to earn back your trust, to make amends. Duta speaks up then, her voice soft but firm. I don't know if I can forgive you, she says, tears streaming down her face. Broke my heart, and you betrayed our vows. How do I move past that? I don't expect you to forgive me overnight, I reply, my own eyes welling up. But I'm committed to proving myself, to being the man you both deserve, to being a good father to our children. Wambui looks at me then, her expression unreadable. You hurt me too, she says quietly. But I need you to be there for our child, to be a father. I need to know that I can rely on you. I'll be there, I promise. My voice thick with emotion. For both of you, for our children, I'll do everything I can to make things right. The room falls silent again, the weight of my words hanging in the air. I know that this is just the beginning of a long and difficult journey, but as I look into the eyes of the women I've hurt, I vow to myself that I will find a way to make amends, to rebuild the trust I've shattered, and to be the man they need me to be. Days turn into weeks, and the aftermath of my confession ripples through every aspect of our lives. Duta and Wambui's parents, though still hurt and wary, allow me to stay involved. The tension between us is palpable, but there is a shared understanding that for the sake of the unborn children, we need to find a way forward. I move into a small apartment nearby, giving both sisters the space they need. I visit regularly, juggling my time between supporting Duta and Wambui. The visits are fraught with awkwardness and unspoken emotions, but slowly, small gestures of trust begin to form a fragile bridge between us. One evening, I find myself sitting in Duta's parents' living room, discussing baby preparations. Duta's mother is knitting tiny booties, her focus entirely on the intricate patterns. Wambui is flipping through a baby name book, her forehead creased in concentration. Duta is in the kitchen, cooking dinner. The clattering of pots and pans a soothing background noise, Wambui says, pointing to a name in the book. Do you like it? I smile, nodding. Perfect. Duta's father, who's been silent observing, finally speaks. Names are important. They carry weight. They set a path. I understand, I say, meeting his gaze. I want our children to grow up knowing they are loved and supported, no matter what. Duta walks in, carrying a tray of steaming food. She sets it down and looks at me, her expression softening just a bit. Dinner's ready. As we eat, the conversation turns to lighter topics for a moment. It almost feels like old times. Laughter mingles with the aroma of home-cooked food, and for the first time in weeks, I feel a glimmer of hope. After dinner, Duta and I find ourselves alone in the kitchen, washing dishes. I've been thinking, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. Maybe we should see a counselor, try to work through this together. I nod, relief washing over me. I think that's a great idea. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Her eyes meet mine, and for the first time, there's a flicker of something I haven't seen in a long time. Hope. Let's take it one step at a time. Days later, Wambui and I sit on a park bench near our university. The campus is alive with students, a stark contrast to the turmoil in our lives. I'm scared, she admits, her voice trembling. I don't know if I can do this alone. You're not alone, I reassure her. Taking her hand, we'll figure this out together, one step at a time. The sessions with the counselor are difficult, filled with painful truths and raw emotions, but they also bring moments of clarity and understanding. Duta and I begin to rebuild our relationship, brick by brick. Trust is slow to return, but with each shared moment, we take small steps towards healing. Wambui too finds her footing. She continues her studies, determined to build a future for herself and her child. Our relationship remains complicated, but we navigate the challenges with a newfound sense of purpose. Months pass, and the day finally arrives when both Duta and Wambui give birth. I find myself in the hospital holding two tiny fragile beings, overwhelmed by the enormity of the responsibility that lies ahead. In that moment, surrounded by family, I make a silent vow to be the father they deserve, to learn from my mistakes, and to build a future grounded in love and honesty. As I look into the eyes of my children, I realize that this is not the end of my journey, but the beginning of a new one. A journey where every step is a chance to make things right, to earn back the trust of the women I've hurt, and to be the man my children can look up to with pride.